Hello everybody and welcome back to the Dragon's Library. So today we are going to be reviewing Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. This is a new movie that came out about a week ago by Legendary Pictures and the latest entry in their Monsterverse franchise, which has actually been getting better and better with each release in my opinion. If you're looking for other stuff like about this franchise, I recently reviewed Monarch Legacy of Monsters. It's an Apple TV show. Hate Apple TV, love Monarch. Great show. So, moving on to the movie itself. This is set 3 years after Godzilla vs. Kong, and it's a part of Legendary Studios' Monsterverse franchise. As opposed to something like Godzilla Minus One, which was made by Toei, the original creators of the franchise, Godzilla X Kong is basically giant monster wrestling. It's lower on the plot, heavier on the monsters smacking each other, but there are some things of substance here. Now, some people have actually noticed that this gets some poor mixed reviews from critics, but it actually has a pretty good audience score on things like Rotten Tomatoes. I don't really reference that a lot, but I do check it right before I do the actual recording and decide to slide that in. And I think it kind of shows that, quite frankly, something can be good and it doesn't necessarily have to be deep. This is just a lot of fun. 3 years after Kong and Godzilla defeated Mechagodzilla, Kong's now living in Hollow Earth, looking for more of his kind because they're all supposedly dead. Godzilla is maintaining order above, killing titans who step out of bounds. It's actually a lot of fun after killing Scylla in Rome. She's like a big spidery kind of monster. And a reference to Greek mythology. Thank you, mythology references. He goes and takes like a nap in the Colosseum, which is just hilarious. He uses like his own personal dog bed both at the beginning and end of this movie, which is fantastic. Chef's kiss. Whoever thought of that, I applaud you, sir. Anyway, Godzilla is kind of a side character in this one, despite him being like the first name in the title. Kong is what you'd call like the main character of this, alongside the little girl from Godzilla vs. Kong, who was the last member of the tribe from Skull Island. So let's get into the human characters real quick. We have Rebecca Hall as Dr. Eileen Andrews. She was the scientist who took care of Gia. She's played by Kaylee Huddle. And basically she's a scientist who studied kaiju, worked for Monarch, and she's also the adoptive mother of Gia. Her people died in some storm or accident, it's a little unclear, and as a result, she's being raised by Dr. Eileen, but she's having weird visions, and along the same time they get strange readings that seem to be some psychic symbols, according to Bernie Hayes. He's played by Brian Tyree Henry. He was the conspiracy theorist, who's thankfully a lot more tolerable in this one. We also have Dan Stevens as Trapper. He's basically a vet for Kong. He helps replace a tooth during the early scene in the movie. He's a lot of fun. Good character. I like him. You gotta have a lot of courage to stand inside a giant ape's mouth and replace his tooth, even while he's knocked unconscious. Great. Anyway, that's basically the human cast. There's like the chief of the village they find in Hollow Earth. Okay, let me get into that real quick. Minor spoilers ahead. Basically, long story short, Kong's looking for, his people and ends up finding this cave-in that happened below. Turns out Godzilla fought this other ape a long time ago who were different from the apes Kong's descended from. He's called the Scar King. He enslaved another kaiju who can control ice, and he wanted to send his army of kind of deformed monkeys to surface to conquer it. He was defeated by Godzilla, and they were banished to a below area deep in Hollow Earth. Kong finds this area and has like kind of a cool, like dialogue-less journey with a small little ape kid he ends up adopting. They've gotten much better at using the kaiju as actual main characters and focusing in on them. Yeah, Gia is having her own thing where she finds the remnants of her people and decides to stay with Dr. Eileen in the end. And she's also the prophesied return one who will come down from the surface and help revive Mothra. Yeah, Mothra is getting revived. It's a thing. You've watched enough Godzilla, you know that Mothra inevitably gets revived again. She has a psychic connection with a child. This is not new for the Godzilla lore. If it is new, hello, welcome to the Godzilla fan. Welcome. First time seeing Mothra revived? Yeah, it's always impressive the first time. So, Godzilla and Kong got to team up again. Kong gets a cool metal glove prosthetic thing to help him punch things really hard. Godzilla goes all pink after he kills another kaiju because he senses the coming calamity. And there's a big old monster fight. It's really cool and fun, and that's basically the movie. It's not really deep, but there is something to be said about finding your own family, the way Gia ends up staying with Dr. Eileen in the end, despite finding another branch of her tribesmen down in Hollow Earth. She chooses to go back to the surface with Dr. Eileen. So that's all nice. Plus, it's parallel the way Kong adopts the ape kid who ends up siding with Kong over the evil apes, essentially, and Kong kind of becomes their leader. It's a cool little thing about finding your own family that's played out well between both of them. But while that is there for, making the plot have some thematic sense, we're not here for that. We're all here for the monster fights, and they look epic. They're great. They're a lot of fun. And that's what this movie is. It's just kind of dumb fun. And I like that. I like that we have Toho doing these very serious Godzilla movies like Shin Godzilla or like Godzilla -1. And then we can have Legendary over here giving us that giant ape versus kaiju action we all so desperately want, that the 13-year-old inside you is begging to see, somebody slamming action figures together. And we can have both those things. And they both have value. It's a lot of fun. I know I've said that multiple times, but that is generally my opinion. In conclusion, I think this is a good movie that plays to its strengths. Legendary is the only studio aside from Marvel that still has an ongoing cinematic universe that isn't falling apart at the seams. I know you DC fans think the DC universe is pretty decent, but I've liked their movies more than most people have, and even I have to admit they're a goddamn train wreck. I mean, the best parts of the Flash movie weren't even the freaking Flash. So yeah, DC's falling apart at the seams, getting a reboot and all that. The few movies that have been good, like the Suicide Squad sequel, were basically completely disconnected from the rest of the universe. And meanwhile, Legendary's over here just trucking along, making movies, making shows. Some of them are good, some of them are okay. A lot of them are a lot of fun. And I have to respect them for that. I didn't think they'd make it this far. Genuinely, I was hoping for them to make it this far, but I did not think they would. So I'll give them a 9 out of 10. They've done a great job on this movie. I can't wait to see them continue to make movies where a giant ape can punch another giant ape with a bone whip, while a giant radioactive lizard fights another radioactive lizard that's spewing out a literal ice age. Moving on from there, we have the announcements. So this video is kind of short. I wanted to just go over, give it my basic opinions, go back to, the kind of standard me spewing out, rambling around. I'm also going to be moving on to some other stuff. Currently, I'm streaming a new game, Lisfanga, the Time Shift Warrior. It's a lot of fun. It's like a hack and slash strategy puzzle game. It's hard to describe, where you summon alternate timeline versions of yourself that all run through different runs you've done, so you can take out the enemies at the same time and stuff. It's a lot of fun. You can find that stream on YouTube or Twitch at 7:30 Tuesdays and Thursdays. So come say hi. In addition, we also are going to have a review for Power World. I know it's still in early access, but I do want to talk about it because it's relevant. And a book review. I know, finally, I decided not to review The Book That Didn't Burn. Long story, I just wasn't feeling it. However, I am going to review Sunbringer by Hannah Kaner. It is a sequel to Godkiller, which I reviewed, I want to say, last year or the year before. And it's a lot of fun. I want to talk about it. There's some cool stuff. You know me, I'm always eager to see the whole human perceptions bring gods to reality fantasy setting. That's kind of my jam. Finally, we have the out card. There's a subscribe board. Click on it. Go to my channel and subscribe. And YouTube has a video recommends. Click on it. Maybe you'll like the video. So I guess I'll see you guys next time. Bye.